Hey guys, Alex here, ajnashville.com. Here with some special guests today. Ben, go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hey, Ben Sweeney. I'm owner of NVille, one of the owners of NVille Insurance Group. We're a broker, and we sell everything but health insurance.
Perfect. And then we have another special guest on here as well, Kyle. Now, Kyle, you work with Ben at the brokerage, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Go ahead
Alex,
and give us a rundown.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man. So my name is Kyle Greene, and I am a producer with NVille, focusing on personal and commercial lines insurance.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on. Everybody's pretty busy right now, especially in your guys' sector with the whole COVID-19. I'm sure that's had some impact as well. For those of you that are listening, we're doing this through a Zoom meeting. The quality may be a little bit further down because of that, because obviously we're not sitting in a room with professional microphones and everything else, but we're trying to do what we can to be safe and make this thing work. Now, Ben, you said you're a co-partner or a co-owner of a brokerage. How long have you been doing that, and how'd you get started?
Well, we started NVille. I started NVille about 3 years ago, and brought my business partner, Will Canterbury. He's in as a sales producer. And then about 6 months to a year, brought him on as a business partner. And so he's been with me for 2.5 years and 2 years as a business partner.
Awesome. So tough times during that. Is it tough to get up and running, or is it, hey, turn the key, open it up, and you're in business?
No, it takes a lot getting it going, because a lot of companies won't appoint you. And so they'll wait. They'll be like, I want to wait until you're about 3 years down the road, see how you're doing, see how big your book is, and then we'll talk about it again. And then you have some companies that'll just appoint anybody.
Yeah. So, luckily this thing that started off before all this stuff kicked off. Now, your biggest influence, and this has been in discussion with you and I, and seeing you on Facebook. You're a pillar in the community. You're a person that people know. You get out there and you're more of the belly to belly sales. You're not doing these click funnels or anything crazy like that. How do you think that being involved in the community like you are has helped improve your business, whereas other people are maybe doing like call center type work?
I think it helps a lot, because I got the people I write insurance for. I got to see them every day when I go get coffee, or when I go out to eat, or go grab a beer or something. And so you treat those people a little bit different. They're not just a number. They're not just a premium. It's, hey, how you doing, Mary? Or, hey, how you doing, Melissa? So those people out there. And so I think that helps, because then they refer you, and it just kind of keeps building.
Right. Now, Kyle, quick question for you. You said you do a lot of commercial stuff, so you're in more of the office structure. And now, are you doing cold calls? Are you going into offices? Tell me a little bit about your business side of things.
Yeah, sure, man. So actually I'm definitely more personal lines heavy right now. So I came on board about a month and a half ago with Ben and Will at NVille. So been in insurance for the last 5 years, but P&C, property and casualty insurance, the last couple years. So personal lines heavy, definitely not, man. I came over, so I don't have, a call sheet. I don't have, I'm not buying leads. So it's all word of mouth, all referrals. I think what I have found to be most impactful, or, generating those referrals on the personal line side is helping mortgage lenders. So mortgage lenders are a big referral partner for me.
Right. Now, personal and casualty, for those that aren't listening, or I'm sorry, that hopefully they're listening, but for those who aren't familiar, what exactly does that cover? Kyle, anybody?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you were talking to me or Ben, man.
No, you're fine. Kyle, go ahead. Is it the auto and the home? Or are we looking at something deeper than that? Just for a general basis, so the people that are listening that don't necessarily know the terminology kind of get an idea of what that covers.
Yeah, sure. Property and casualty, man, encompasses, your auto, home. It's going to be insurance on actual property, whether that's a structure. And then you've got casualty, so the liability portion of it as well.
Gotcha. Ben, you and I were talking about this the other day, And that's when people look at coverage, you typically look at, hey, what's the state minimum? Can I get the most cut rate coverage out there? And how cheap can I get it? And, I think as you expose yourself to more liability, you start to see things like, hey, if I run into a back of a brand new $100,000 Mercedes Benz, is my coverage going to take care of that? Or if I T-bone a car and the passengers are injured, do I have enough coverage? I mean, is this something that obviously with you guys look at more of the specialized kind of detailed, hey, this is kind of what you need. This is the area that you live in, so on and so forth.
Right.
But the call center people are just about, hey, let's write you a policy. We'll get you in at any dollar amount. Here's a policy, and not so much of the detail.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we do more of we educate our clients. And so it's like, hey, do you realize that if you have state minimum insurance, if you hit a car, if it's anything over a used 10, 15-year-old car, it's not going to cover it.
Right.
You're going to be out of pocket. And so if you have any type of assets, you're going to lose those assets too.
Right.
And so that's why you need to not shop on price and shop more on coverage and look at the agency you're working with and the carriers and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing because obviously, you don't want to wastefully spend and have insurance that's too expensive. I mean, if you're driving around in a 15-year-old car and you need collision or something like that, then maybe that's the right plan for you.
Right.
What kind of hangs me up is, you get on some of the online insurance companies and it's like, hey, click this box. Here's what we recommend for you. Would you like a cheaper policy? Uninsured motorists. There's another big thing. Like none of us ever think I'm going to have an accident. It's always, well, somebody else is going to hit me because I'm a perfect driver,
Right.
And so, there's that's one of the big things that as you get older and more educated in that, and I'm glad you said that because that's one of the key fundamentals of people making a responsible decision is being educated in that decision. The other big thing is homeowners insurance. I myself, I had a tree hit my house, the windstorms last year, a tree fell down and it hit the backside of my house. And, luckily everything was the way it should be. The coverage was proper and stuff like that. But being in the mortgage industry, we see a lot of people where their policy, they bring it to us and it's like, oh my God, if something happened, you don't even have replacement value here. And people don't take into account to revisit their policy over the years as the appreciation occurs and their home becomes, more and more valuable. So is that something you guys do as you reach back out and kind of touch base with your clients during renewal period, or do you just click a button and say, all right, you're renewed, you're good to go?
Yeah, we do that a little bit. And because one reason why is because we're looking at it to see, all right, did their policy go up 10, 15%? Did it go up 20%? And so then we're looking at that and seeing why and getting back out with them. Hey, have you done any renovations? Have you done anything like this that would drive the premium up a little bit? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, because if you do a renovation in your house, you really need to call your insurance agent and say, hey, I just put granite countertops in.
Right.
Because if you went in because when we're figuring out the premium of a house and the cost of a house, there's different levels. And so if you have like basic for your kitchen, well, if you have a total loss, that's what's going to be put back in there, whether you had granite or not.
Right. So that's kind of like the auto insurance, when you start putting wheels on it and lifting vehicles or adding accessories, if you don't account for those and essentially pay for those on a month-to-month basis, I mean, you're not paying full pop for those things you put on, but if you don't account for them, then you're just getting the basic replacement when everything's said and done if you total your vehicle or something like that, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So, and cost-wise, Kyle, I know this is something that you work big in, especially dealing with a lot of the PNC. Do you find that people are a little more hesitant to say, yeah, I've done this to my vehicle or I've improved this on my house? Do you find that there's some hesitation to do that from some consumers because it does increase the value and they say, no, let's just go back to the basic coverage?
Yeah, no, I personally haven't found that to be the case. I think a majority, most people that I talk to are definitely concerned. They want to make sure, especially the higher value stuff, whether it's granite or a lift kit or whatever rims, they want to make sure that's properly covered for sure. That's in my experience.
Right. Yeah, that's always it's a good thing to have, and it's dependent upon the clientele that you're working with. I know that some people are a little more exposed than others, which means that, hey, we need a little bit more coverage than normal. Especially if you have situations where, a pool in the backyard or something like that. Obviously, if something happens, you want to make sure that you don't lose your home and your cars and your business or whatever else may be tied to it. Because let's face it, if you run a red light on accident, T-bone a vehicle and injure people in that vehicle, I'm assuming that if your insurance doesn't cover it, they can come after you personally, unless there's some liability stuff that's already put in place. But based on the general statement of that, I mean, would that be true that, let's say I blow a red light and run into a Escalade full of people and injure somebody, am I ultimately going to be on the hook for any difference, or potentially be on the hook for any difference if my state minimum coverage didn't cover that damage?
Oh yeah, they can come after you on that. They can, they'll hire a lawyer and they can come after you and get the rest of the coverage.
Yeah.
Even sometimes garnish your wages too.
Yeah, to that point. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point, you're basically, there's no getting away from it. They're taking it out of your wages or whatever the case may be. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about when they look at their coverages and what it is that we're trying to do. As far as, from a mortgage side, we want to make sure our collateral is covered, obviously. We want to make sure that, heaven forbid, the house burns down, that it can be built back. And if you don't want it, it becomes a total loss, that we get paid off, and that the consumer can at least walk away without, some type of weight. But when you start looking at those specialty things and the fact that, hey, you're in a moving vehicle and you may hit a $10,000 car, you may hit $100,000 car, and there may be one person in there or four people in there, you need to make sure you have that coverage. So, educate me. I know you guys are limited on some of the things that you can talk about. And for the most part, I'm familiar with a lot of this terminology. I've been in the industry for 16 years. And so at some point you have to start learning a little bit about insurance, but I'm by no means a licensed insurance person. So, if I'm a new guy and I come in and I say, hey, I want a policy, what's some of the things you would educate me on?
You'll go, Kyle?
Yeah, man, I'll start with the auto. So I keep it real basic. Somebody that has zero knowledge of, like you just talked about, zero knowledge of what auto insurance is, what the coverage does for them. With auto insurance, there's three main coverages. You got the first is coverage for the other person. That's your bodily injury, liability, property damage, what we just talked about. If you hit somebody, you cause injury to them, or you damage their vehicle, or you run into their home or a building. And then the second main coverage is going to be coverage for you and your family, people that are in your car, the uninsured motorist, underinsured motorist coverage. I think the latest stat I saw or heard about, 1 in 5 Tennesseans are riding around without car insurance. So pretty, not a slim chance, it's a decent chance somebody could run into you without coverage. And then you've got the third main coverage is coverage for your vehicle. That's your collision and comprehensive. Collision is going to be, you hitting someone or something, a building or something. And then you've got comprehensive, where it's basically everything other than collision. If you hit an animal, falling objects, theft, somebody steals your car, things like that. And those come with what's called deductibles. But yeah, short and sweet, man, that's kind of the three main coverages with your auto insurance.
So let me ask you this, Kyle, and I thought about this. This is the type of stuff I think about on a regular basis. I probably shouldn't, but so my daughter learned how to ride a bike without training wheels, and she literally learned yesterday. So naturally, when Dad gets home from work, she wants to ride her bike, and we were approaching a cul-de-sac, and there's a vehicle sitting, at the end of the cul-de-sac. And my first thought is, if she runs into that car, and literally, I don't know why this is my first thought, if she runs into that car, it's going to hit my homeowner's insurance. Is that a correct thing in thinking? Because it does strike another vehicle. Does my homeowner's insurance cover her bicycle hitting that car, or would my auto insurance cover that?
Yeah, real high level. You're kind of getting in the weeds, because you really don't, until you file a claim, an adjuster comes out there or whatever. But that, right. And Ben, you can piggyback off this, but I would, that would fall under the liability if that person, assault, damages, legal action against you. You have liability coverage in place under your homeowner's insurance.
Gotcha.
For that. Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, and those are aspects that I think about when I'm like, because I look at how exposed I am, when it comes to liability. So Ben, you were going to say something. I apologize. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I was going to say that's what your liability is, kind of on your house. And if someone was to come over to your house, get hurt, or you were to cause damage to something, that's what that's for right there.
Gotcha.
And so that usually, I've seen it down to like 100,000, but that we usually start about 300,000 and bump it up, depending on the house, what kind of assets you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all, once again, we go into that custom tailor fill. And that's something I want to make it clear, your local call centers, there's no incentive for them to say, well, hey, do you have firearms? We live here in Tennessee. Firearms are pretty common. If so, do you need those things covered? Do you have jewelry? Do you have things like that, the piggyback riders that can go on there to help make sure, let's say, heaven forbid, someone's house is a total loss, but at least those things would be covered in that loss or in a theft or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because on your homeowners, you have automatic coverage for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't actually list it out, your deductible is $1,000 or whatever your homeowner's deductible is.
Right.
But if you actually schedule it, then you can set your deductible. So you can set it at a different level than what your homeowner's is. Because I've seen some homeowners' deductibles. I mean, it's like 2% of the rebuild cost of their house.
Yes.
And so, I saw one the other day. It was a $6,000 deductible.
Yeah. And that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. And a lot of people don't realize that because it's like, oh, sweet, I got a cheap premium.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if anything ever happens, your deductible every year is going to go up with the value of your house.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you go to file a claim because, that's what insurance is for. Well, if the claim's $1,000, your deductible is $6,000.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing that I think a lot of us, nobody teaches this stuff in school. Like there needs to be a professor in your senior year that's like, all right, guys, sit down. Here's the deal, but nobody does. And that's unfortunate. So
I think one important thing I want to mention on the home insurance side, if let's say your tree does fall, damage your home. Right. I always advise my clients to go get a free estimate from somebody to what it would cost to repair it. So let's say your deductible is $5,000. Well, you file a claim, your company doesn't cover it. Well, that claim's going to follow you around for 5 years, even though not necessarily with that company, but if you try to shop it, it's going to come up on your claim history, even though there was no payout. So Try to get a free estimate, see how much it might cost, and then gauge it from there of whether or not you should file a claim or not.
That's a really good and valid point, especially when you talk about something like that. Because I think most people's first response is, oh, where's my insurance company number? And you'd be amazed. This is coming from the mortgage side. There's been so many times where I'm like, hey, who's your homeowner's insurance through? And they're like, I don't know, Bank of America. I'm like, no. You pay to somebody. Who's it through? And they're like, I have no idea. And it becomes a struggle to get that information. You almost have to hopefully order the payoff and it lists on there, ABC insurance company or whatever the case may be. So you should put all this information in a location where you have data sensitive information. One thing I learned, so I had a house that was broken into when I lived out in Franklin about 6-7 years ago. And with that, they stole electronics, things like that. And at that point, I was younger. I was a little bit more ignorant to, having serial numbers and things like that. And so when the insurance company came in, they're like, hey, do you have proof that you own this stuff? And I had none, and it granted, don't get me wrong, they covered what they were supposed to, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't itemize. So I'm saying this to say this portion. If you have homeowners coverage or auto or whatever the case may be, I myself, at least, and you guys could speak to this better, would highly recommend having a notated list located on a cloud or in a safe or something like that to where you can refer back to this list and cross-reference what's missing or damaged versus what you have on there. I think it makes it easier for you guys, Yeah,
I mean, everybody's got a smartphone. Just go around your house and start taking pictures of everything.
Yeah. And post it on Facebook.
Back up somewhere. Yeah.
Don't post it on Facebook. I was just kidding. Actually, that's how one of the items that got weird. I had 33 bottles of cologne. And I I like different cologne, and I got to the point where I was like, every week I'm going to buy a new bottle, and that's what I did. And so I had a picture on Facebook that I had taken, and because the insurance adjuster's like, why would you have 30, 32, 33 bottles of cologne? I was like, I told him the same thing I just told you guys. And he's like, well, you're going to have to provide proof. Luckily, I uploaded that picture to Facebook, and I was like, here's my proof. And then the next question was, why did you take a picture of your cologne? I'm like, come on, man. So
I don't know.
yeah, exactly. I took a picture of it because it was unbelievable to me too. So,
right.
Well, hey, we're going to wrap this up. You know, I've kept you guys. I know you guys are busy. I know it's Friday. We're getting ready to rock into the weekend. Hopefully you guys have some huge quarantine plans this weekend. You know, maybe sit around the house, go to the front porch, back porch, stuff like that. Let me ask you this. The best way to get in touch with you guys, I want both of your guys' information because maybe some people like the way Kyle sounds. Maybe some people like the way Ben sounds. But if I want to get a hold of you guys, Ben, go ahead and fire out first. Name, give me all that information to get in touch with you.
Ben with NVille Insurance Group, and you can call us at 615-505-1011. And we have two awesome customer service reps answering the phone. They're shooting it to each one of us. And then you can email us at contact@NvilleInsuranceGroup.com.
Perfect. Spell that NVille for me, please, for the people that can't spell in the back.
So it is NVILLE.
Perfect. Kyle, go ahead and shoot it out.
Yeah, hey, what Ben said, that's the best way to get a hold of me as well, man.
Perfect.
Of us, yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being on the show today. Listeners, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. I hope you and your families are safe and sound. Hopefully this coronavirus will pass as everything does eventually. But hopefully we're able to rebound from this. Also, one thing I want to touch on is the thing that Kyle said, 1 in 5 people driving in Tennessee are uninsured. Chances are as we see economic distress, you're going to see that number go up even higher. So if you don't have that uninsured motorist policy, be sure to jump on it. It's the best thing you can do to protect you and your family. And if you're looking for coverage, be sure to reach out to these guys. Thanks again for listening.